Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We're here to plug you into the world of professional wrestling. I'm your co-host Fisher, and I'm here with both my co-hosts this week in Keeney and Krusty.
Whoop.
Hey everyone.
Hey guys.
This week in something John Cena would never say, you can see me, because last week you couldn't. Obviously, if you listened to the pod last week or watched on YouTube, because the pod didn't make any difference. I was here, but I wasn't visibly here. I've sorted my camera out. We're all good. And I'm back on the screen. I did see one comment, saying that I was the only reason they watched and they were disappointed. I mean, it might have been from Callie, but still, it's still a comment. But let's get straight into it. No real news this week, and obviously we've got a lot to talk about with Raw 30th anniversary, the hype to the Royal Rumble, and all sorts going on. So we'll get straight to it.
A good week.
Yeah.
Has been a good week.
Where do you want to start, guys?
SmackDown, and it was Tag Team City on SmackDown this week.
Yeah, and I have a thing about that.
Well, do you want to start with your thing?
I just think it was overkill doing all four matches on one night, and it felt very rushed. And I just thought, oh, cool, you've got the two big matches. You've got the Brutes versus Imperium and Drew and Sheamus versus Viking Raiders. They're like really good matches. Then when it got to the show and they had the other two as well, I was like, what? Why? Why couldn't you do that next? I mean, they're obviously rushing it for a reason, I'm guessing. But still, it was too much for me, I thought.
I wonder whether they'll try and squeeze it onto the Rumble card last minute. Oh, no, they can't, can they? Oh, well, they could if they did semis and final on Friday, but that would be a squeeze.
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit unnecessary. But the actual matches themselves, two of them were
probably
great.
A good match to have on the first week after the Rumble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit odd, especially as they had no women's match on the card either. And we'll get to the use of the women. It's a general skid mark of mine this week.
Oh, yeah.
SmackDown is included in that as well because there was no women's match on SmackDown. But yeah, I thought the opener between Drew, Sheamus, and Viking Raiders was really good. I've got no complaints about that. What do you guys make of that match?
Yeah, really good. There's not really much else I've got on that one other than just being good. With all four matches, I felt like the expected team won in all four.
I actually disagree with one.
Okay.
I had a feeling the Brutes were going to win because they kept suggesting that they could have Brutes versus Brutes in the final. And I thought we might get Sheamus and Drew versus Butch and Ridge Holland. I thought we might get that. So I actually thought they might
that would have been
Imperium.
a banger.
Yeah, because they kind of teased it on the commentary after Drew and Sheamus won their match. And the way the bracket was set up, I wouldn't have been surprised if that was a final. But the other three, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we probably, put them all together because I don't think there's much to say about any of them individually. They're just four all right matches. I think Hit Row Lothario's probably the weakest of the four. But...
Yeah, and Legado versus Maximum Male Models because those two were short. That's why I felt like it was rushed. You could have put them on another week and given them 5 extra minutes. You might have got more out of it. But I felt like the main event and the opener were actually really solid. But the two
They've done
that
on purpose, though, haven't they?
Yeah.
They actually put Legado match on after Imperium Brawl and Brutes.
Oh, did they? Sorry, I got the match order wrong. But yeah, still felt short. Oh, because the main event was the segment of course, the main event was the KO Roman segment, wasn't it? That's why.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty adamant that we're going to see Sheamus and Drew win tag titles at some point this year. And I'd put my money on Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I think that's probably a very sound.
I think someone might win it before then. I think someone might take the titles then, and then they'll drop them to Sheamus and Drew.
Well, maybe they'll not win the tournament by like cheating or something, and Imperium win it or something. Then you just have an Imperium Usos banger, Usos retain, and then down the line, Brutes get their match they deserve.
Well, it's interesting because I mean this is jumping ahead to Raw, but I thought they were going to split the titles and they didn't.
Yeah, I thought they were going to.
I really thought they were going to, and then I thought, well, whoever loses on SmackDown, there's no chance that they can win. But it's possible now that they could win.
Yeah, definitely.
And beat the Usos because they didn't split the titles on
They
Raw.
could have Sheamus and Drew win it here.
and then
really
defend
could.
the titles
Yeah.
at Mania. They could easily do it.
It's a good match to have at Mania. I just feel it's a slight waste to have Money in the Bank coming up. If they're a tag team, the pop would be unreal, and especially after last time at Clash of the Castle with both of them losing.
You could have them successfully defend
Yeah.
their titles. You could keep them going till Money in the Bank and have them successfully defend there. Like,
Yeah.
I know it wouldn't be
is Money in the
quite a
Bank,
deal, but
is it after Mania, Money in the Bank? Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Is it the first one after Mania? Do we know?
It's July.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think there's one in between.
Oh, of course it is. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a way away.
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
one pay-per-view in between, which will probably be like Backlash or something like that. Like a minor one. It'll be the next major show.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot else to say about these tag matches. Like I say, two of them were good.
Just most of the show.
Okay.
Now, I guess we move on to the main event segment because we kind of briefly mentioned it.
Yeah.
And this does feed into Raw a bit, and we'll get on to Raw because before you got more to say on Raw. But Kevin Owens coming out, attacking the Bloodline, stunnering Roman. This led on from earlier in the night with Roman and Sami backstage, and Roman kind of Sami kind of airing his grievances for the week previous of the Usos costing him the match against Kevin Owens, and Roman getting a bit angry, kind of Heyman calming him down, and then Sami not, he told Sami to get the car, whatever, and he didn't arrive in time to stop KO.
No, yeah, which is why we got the trial segment.
Yeah, which is
what
led to Raw and what happened on Raw. But we'll get to that in a minute. But what do you make about SmackDown's developments?
I thought it was pretty good. I loved the fact they made KO look strong. He put Roman through a table. Like, when was the last time Roman got put through a table? Kind of booked him really strong. Like, he beat all four of them up essentially, really. Even with the numbers game, they made him look great, which is good. And then obviously the storytelling with the twist of Sami coming down here and him throwing the contract at Sami, all that kind of stuff worked really well as well. And it was like just a nice setup for the Monday. I'm glad they changed. I mean, we'll get to it, but I'm glad they changed the segment for what it was in the end to this, because I think it was perfect. And yeah, this was a good way to end SmackDown. The crowd seemed really into it, particularly the pop-up powerbomb for the table.
Yeah. Sorry, great stuff. What are your guys' views on what we got with LA Knight and Bray Wyatt on this show? So LA Knight beat Brent Jones, local competitor Brent Jones.
So I like seeing LA Knight smashing.
Yeah, just dominant.
I like it sometimes
winning a
when
match.
they put jobbers on them and they just
He's getting properly over at the moment as well. I'm loving hearing the crowd.
Yeah, particularly on Raw, I noticed it.
Yeah, big time.
I really think he is a potential future world champion.
I think he could be the Money in the Bank winner this year. I think that would be perfect for him.
I would absolutely love.
I really think he is.
Him carrying around the briefcase, cutting promos would be great.
I really hope.
Like I say, as long as Triple H remains in power of creative, I could see it happening. If Vince gets back in, then no. But
yeah, he just has everything, doesn't he? Like how he can make such a catchy catchphrase is ridiculous. Like,
and let me talk to you.
Yeah, let me talk to you.
He's got charisma, like
he is, and he looks the part as well, doesn't he? He's
and again,
unit.
We'll get on to Raw, but he had a very good week, I thought, LA Knight.
Yeah.
But I'm personally not too keen on the Firefly Funhouse here. I know we got Bray on his rocking chair the week before, and maybe we'll get the Fiend at some point. It seems to be he's going through his characters.
Yeah.
The Bray Wyatt we were introduced to when he come back kind of was his like authentic natural self, and all of this gimmickness was away, and he was him being him. And I know we have Uncle Howdy, but I feel like
Uncle Howdy's interesting because he's new.
And
it
is a different character. It's not actually Bray himself, is it?
Yeah, but this like last week I think I kind of glossed over it. Maybe I didn't. It didn't ring as much kind of, it didn't kind of ring home as much. But this Funhouse, I just felt really off. I wasn't
Do we
wasn't a
think
fan of it.
Vince come back into creative, maybe.
Well,
Uh,
I think Bray had this planned all. I think Bray has a lot of say in what he does.
yeah, I
Not
agree,
every. I mean, I love Bray, but sometimes like not everything he does is great. He does have weeks where it's like this is just a bit weird and don't get it. I got the. I think the premise of it is we don't know which character we're getting at the pay-per-view, and he's playing mind games with LA Knight in that sense because you've got Bray Wyatt being himself, you've got cult leader Bray, you've got this version of Bray, you've got the Fiend, you've got basically 4 or 5 different versions. Then there's the Uncle Howdy involvement as well. I think that's the idea behind it. The segment itself wasn't particularly strong compared to some of the Funhouse ones. I love the Funhouse. I mean, I used to absolutely love it, but
yeah, no, so do I.
It did feel a little
think it's
bit out
great.
of place. I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But I think the thinking behind it is to sort of not give away what version of Bray Wyatt we're going to get. I don't think we will get the Fiend, but it's kind of set up the Fiend.
It's just
I
weird how
actually don't
Bray
want it
was
to be the
back
Fiend.
in the Funhouse. Like as Keeney said, the first time we saw him, it was like really raw, really real. It's him, and now it's like, oh.
Well, the thing is, he's still
randomly-
doing that, isn't he? But then he's turning halfway through a segment.
Yeah, I thought we'd left it behind. That's the problem. I thought we
Yeah.
had a full new chapter, and everything was gone. And the fact that we saw like the Fiend mask all destroyed and things like that. Yeah, I understand both points, but I'm not keen on it. I hope it is gone. Just realised Keeney's called Fisher. It's confused me then.
Am I?
Yeah. I've only just
I don't know why I needed to remind myself of your name.
well,
After knowing you so long, I was like, who is he?
Last
I didn't
week
even
we had no
notice it.
Fishers. There was no Fisher on screen last week. This week we've got 2 Fishers to make
Yeah.
up for it.
Yeah.
I've gone double Fisher.
I didn't notice that until now.
No,
It's
I know.
because,
To
I think it's
randomly go
because
off
I
of
went to
that.
sign into the thing to check my camera and I put the name as Fisher because I would have stayed in, but it wasn't working. So I went back out and then
This is a
obviously
very
changed
Bray
it.
Wyatt turn of events. This is Fisher
This
replicating
says
himself.
I've changed character.
Yeah.
I've sent a Fisher halfway through.
Does anyone else have anything to say on that then?
Not really.
No.
Onto the big Raw XXX.
Actually, I've got one other little thing from SmackDown.
Oh, here he
but
is.
to be honest, it's not particularly interesting. It was just the.
Is it what the cameraman had for his lunch or something like that?
No. It was just the Charlotte segment. But again, we got more of that on Raw. I feel like this week as well, Raw had so much SmackDown on it. They had loads of SmackDown people. So really, a lot of it is irrelevant now because the Bray Wyatt segment we got and LA Knight segment we got on Raw was like way better, more interesting. Same with the Bloodline. Same with even Imperium. Like had a segment on Raw. So we might as well get straight to it. Actually, I don't really care about this Charlotte segment that happened on SmackDown. She refused to give Sonya a rematch. That was about it. And then Sonya did a sneak attack to try and get her to give her one. But that was nothing really. It didn't really lead to anything until Monday, did it? So
No. God, where do we even start with Monday Night Raw? Because a lot happened.
So stacked.
A lot
So it was
happened.
Raw 30th anniversary, wasn't it?
Raw XXX. Which
Should we start with the
sounds
video?
like a
Hulk
porno.
Hogan's microphone not working. That was quite amusing.
So it started with Hulk, which
That was a good start.
I thought was a strange way to start. I'm not good. I did think this is a bit of an odd way to start the show. Hulk Hogan. I know he's one of the people was around 30 years ago when Raw kind of started, but he's not really. If you look at the Raw video package they did, was there even a Hulk Hogan moment in there? He's not really synonymous with the show.
Just to
and
draw people in.
he also
isn't it,
does
mention
divide
Hulk
opinion.
Hogan.
Yeah, it's a draw, but he does divide opinion massively. And I just thought it was a. I thought they'd just start with the Bloodline. They did it straight after anyway. But yeah, I thought it was a bit odd. But I'm glad that that's all we saw of him. I had a feeling he was going to keep coming out. I'm glad he didn't because he doesn't really add anything nowadays. He can't get physical. He doesn't. His promos aren't. They're the same thing every time. So I don't really care about seeing him, to be honest. Some of the legends I enjoy seeing, he's not one of them.
No, I agree.
So we had a big video package straight after that, didn't we?
And that was really cool.
Was cool, and interestingly, we saw Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson in those as well.
Yeah,
which was
Jericho
quite
had 2 in
surprising.
there, I believe. He had 2 moments in there because he had his
Raw is
debut.
Jericho.
Well,
But
it's
they
good
also
because
put-
that Raw is Jericho. His entrance is one of my like. If I'm picking my like top 5 moments I remember in Raw history, that's up there.
Also, they didn't have it on there, but the Festival of Friendship is an all-time great Raw
That was
segment.
banging.
Yeah.
And I remember when they did the top 100 moments on the network, I think it was in the top 5. Like it was so
Has
good.
Jericho
And there was another
or Bryan
Jericho
mentioned anything, by the way, about this?
Jericho did tweet about it, saying, it doesn't matter what company I work for, there are some legendary moments in here. Obviously, because he was featured in it, he's probably talking about himself, putting himself over. But, he's not wrong. Even the ones without him, there's so many Austin and Vince moments in there. There was so much from, there was recent things in there. There was cash-ins, there was Attitude Era stuff. There was all different eras. There was a lot of great stuff on there. And there was some stuff they didn't even include that was great as well. But yeah, really good video package to sort of hype up the show before the big event started. And I think we should get to the next thing because I'm pretty sure
is this top
we're
mark
all going to
City?
have a joint top mark here.
We are, yeah.
Like, there's no way this isn't going to be the top mark for the week.
To be honest, there was 2 segments on Raw that I thought were actually like pretty damn amazing, but this one probably is the best one.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly, yeah.
Go on, Fish.
Well, obviously it's the trial of Sami Zayn, and like I say, I was glad they switched it because I think the acknowledgement ceremony, I'm sure they had something good up the sleeve, but I don't think it would have been the same level, as this segment, and I don't think it would have been as storyline related because this was perfect. You get the bloodline come out, Paul Heyman kind of starts it off. Maybe a bit of an over the top line when he said ECW is dead and I wish Sami Zayn was as well.
Yeah, like he seems to be like Sami's friend this whole time. All of a sudden he just turned on him.
Yeah, he went a bit hard, but fair enough. It was all right. And then he presents his evidence of Sami's wrongdoings. And all of them were like, you can see where Paul's coming from, but really Sami hadn't done a lot wrong.
Some brilliant ones like that. Yeah. That one in there, that subtle like knocks Roman out of the way to go to the front. Like
his reaction to that was hilarious. Said it was assault and stuff.
Yeah,
he was like, if you're not guilty of anything, you're guilty of assault on the tribal chief. So Paul was just brilliant here, and then his facial reactions as well when Sami and Jay were talking, when Roman was talking. If you kept an eye on his facial reactions, it was brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about the segment. Everyone was brilliant. Sami then went to defend himself, but said that he basically has no defense. He was kind of giving up. Then Roman got angry, and this bit was great. Roman was great here. Sami looked emotional, like he was going to cry. The facial expressions from him were great. Roman's like getting angry was brilliant, but I have to say the star of the show was Jay. He was brilliant in this segment.
You missed out Solo Sikoa there, who was ordered to hit a Samoan spike to Sami and had it lined up, and then Jay.
Yeah, because what I love about Solo is he doesn't show any emotion. He don't care what's he just does as he's told.
Yeah.
Roman's just like, do this and he'll do it. It doesn't matter who it's on. If he said, do it to Jimmy for no reason, he'd do it. Do you know what I mean? He just doesn't care. And that is what's great about Solo Sikoa's character. Jimmy kind of feels like the extra person in this a little bit. But Jay here was just... That stopping him
was
and
awesome,
presenting the evidence was just like amazing.
Did not expect that.
And yeah, for him of all people, the one that was doubting Sami the whole time, to now be the one that stands up for him. And then even the end of the segment where Roman said, I find you not guilty for now, but there's a final test coming at the Rumble, leaves it on a bit of a cliffhanger to know there's something happening at the Rumble.
I cannot wait for that match at the Rumble. Sami Zayn's going to get involved somewhere, and I don't know which way he's going to go. It's impossible.
I'm assuming it will be in the Roman KO match. It's possible that it could be in the Rumble itself, because I mean I've seen a lot of people debating whether Sami should be in the Rumble, whether he
could throw Solo out, couldn't he, quite easily or something like that?
Or I think he could accidentally cost Solo or something like that. And then that kind of spirals, or he gets carried away and throws him out because he thinks he's going to win. He's in like the last 2 or 3, and then he gets beaten.
Well, do you know what I'd be quite interested to see. I don't think they'll do it, but if you had a final three of like Solo, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, they had a final three, and then just see the dynamics there. Someone's got to win and face Roman at Mania, and just see what's going to happen, because that could be proper interesting.
They all get out, touch the floor at the same time.
I thought of a bit of fantasy booking earlier that I hadn't thought of before, but would be brilliant as well for the Rumble. I don't know whether to get to it now or in a minute, because it's not really related to this segment, but it's to do with obviously. So you've got KO facing Roman. Now, if they'd have done the one title like they were doing for the tag titles, right, you could have had the Universal title on the line. And you could have had Sami accidentally cost Roman the title to KO, but Roman still has the other belt, crucially. Then Sami enters the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and then he's got to pick to face Kevin Owens or Roman Reigns, because they're both champions.
Yeah.
And Roman's like, you've got to pick Sami, you've got to pick Kevin, but he picks Roman, and then Cody could face KO. That was my idea. But they're not doing the split title thing. If it was split title, they should do that. Because I think that would be brilliant. Having Sami win the Rumble and not know who to pick. But yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, this segment was just fantastic. And what made it even better, actually, was the match after.
Yeah, exactly. Let's straight into the tag team title match against the Judgment Day. And there's a few interesting layers to this that I thought worked really well. Obviously the Sami Uso's dynamic, but also the fact that Jimmy got injured, and then Sami stepped in for him, but it because you could pick that apart and be like, that's ridiculous. Like, Sami Zayn can't defend Uso's tag belts, but they did it for Judgment Day, like last week, where Dominic stepped in for injured Finn.
I think they knew that they were going to do this, so they did that
that's what I mean.
last week. That was genius.
Yeah, that was foreplanning, and I think Adam Pearce even said, he's like, well, I did it for them last week, so I do it for you now. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's like you can't argue that then with that decision, because it's happened for Judgment Day, so it has happened for the Usos.
One thing I really liked was Jay's reaction to this. I was thinking he was going to be like, oh no, but actually he was like really excited, was like, yeah, let's get it. And just surprised that they won. I thought the moment Sami got involved in this match, I thought he is going to lose it. And
he's going to lose this
tension.
It could go either way. And I thought, but the most likely way is Sami now takes the pin and costs the Usos the title, and that's going to be like the way out. Or he wins. He wins the match for them, but gets like really carried away.
Yeah,
neither of those things really happened. The match itself was great because they teased it so well as well. Sami kicked out of loads of stuff.
Yeah, it was a really good match
as well. He nearly won a couple of times. The crowd were going nuts. It was a great match, really, really good. Damien Priest, I thought, did a lot of work in this match as well.
Yeah, really good
work under the brilliance of the bloodline and the storytelling. I think Sami's.
It was a good match. Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Before
one thing
after,
that's interesting that might
1D.
play into the storyline is the fact that Roman said he doesn't want to see Sami until the Royal Rumble.
Friday. Yeah, that is interesting.
He said, "I want you gone," and then he was in the ring, winning, retaining belts, and you could see Roman was annoyed when he was watching backstage. So that's an interesting thing as well.
Yeah, I'm intrigued what happens on Friday. I don't know whether Roman's there or what.
Well, you've got KO versus Solo, isn't it, on Friday?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So that's why I think he wants Sami to not be there, because Solo's facing Kevin Owens, right? And the Usos are obviously going to try and take him out as well. Does Sami turn up?
Sami will be there. Sami will turn up.
Yeah.
And also, we haven't mentioned it was a 1D. With Jey Uso and Sami Zayn 1D.
And it looks smooth, didn't it?
Who would have called that like a year, 18 months ago?
And also on the finish, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a subtle look. There's probably a picture of it online somewhere where they're looking at the titles. And obviously, I think this is done on purpose, where Jay's got the Raw tag belts, Sami's got the SmackDown tag belts, and he pauses for a second and just looks at them before handing them back. I thought he was going to hesitate and not give them back, because he wanted them, but he gives them to Jay, but it's just that little look of, I want these. And because I assume at WrestleMania he's going to go for the SmackDown Tag Team titles with Kevin, and that was why he did that. But it was just a subtle little thing that I thought was really good.
Unless he wins the Rumble.
He could win the Rumble and go for Roman, but I just think the Elimination Chamber being in Montreal makes it too obvious that he's facing Roman there.
Yeah.
What else are they going to do for the main event in Montreal? Apart from KO again, but he's facing him at the Rumble.
If he's facing him, I reckon he might go in the chamber.
I think he faces Roman at the at Elimination Chamber. I think that crowd is going to be so into Sami. It'll be like the Drew one. It'll be like the Drew one. And again,
and they can have some disappointment when Roman beats him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it'll be, won't it? But if it's well done and it sets up the tag, I don't mind. A lot of people are saying Sami should be the one to face Roman now because he's getting so over or whatever. I don't mind the story of, because for me the story mainly has been between Sami and Jey Uso. It has been since the start. Plus KO's so involved in it.
I would say that is true up until the last month or two. I think it's been more Sami and Roman for a while.
It has definitely become more about that, but I think there's still even Jey saving Sami the other day. For me, that's so much more about Jey and Sami than it is Roman and Sami. So you could go either way, as 100%. But I think Cody winning the Rumble makes more sense, and then having a massive tag match. You could main event night one with a tag team match because it's that big a match. You could do it, if you wanted to. But yeah, that was just all brilliant, wasn't it? What else should we get to? Because I could talk about this segment all day, but let's move on.
I want to get to the other segment on the show. What I thought was unbelievable was LA Knight coming down, calling out a legend from the back. Again, we've mentioned before, but LA Knight's character throughout this Bray feud has been, he hasn't been a scared heel who hides and runs away. He's always stood up. He's always called Bray out. He's not looked stupid at any point. And again, he calls out a legend, and
he did try to run away here.
Yeah, well,
Bray comes down.
Yeah, the gong hits, and we think, it's Taker. Oh my word! And I was like, sorry, I was like, yeah, this makes complete sense. And it was the American Badass. I don't
really cool.
Yeah, I don't really know why it would have made more sense to be the dead man considering Bray's character, but it would have also added on an extra 10 minutes to the show. So I guess for entrance length, just get
I just thought it was cool because we haven't seen it. Apparently, the last time
American Badass was
2003.
a lot more raw, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was 2003 was the last time we've seen it. So I think it was the fact we haven't seen it in that long made it awesome.
That was peak.
We'd have seen it like a couple of years ago. I'd agree that it should have been a dead man, but I think the fact that we hadn't seen it in so long made it really, really cool.
I got excited.
Yeah, I got excited for this, and
then Bray comes out.
Yeah, well, what I liked about it is too often you get criticised for the legends not putting over the talent and burying them. Like, remember when DX and the Revival on Raw 25 made them look absolutely stupid. Dax Harwood actually tweeted about that the other day.
Not better.
You know, and they went over them, like they basically beat up the Revival even though they can't wrestle anymore and stuff like that. Whereas I thought here they might have the Undertaker, like, even though it's the Undertaker, so it wouldn't be too bad, but I thought they were going to have the Undertaker to take out LA Knight here, but he didn't. He passed them over to Bray. Bray hit the Sister Abigail.
That was cool.
And I thought that was, and crucially, we got another segment like this later where the legends didn't do that. So I thought that was really cool. And then obviously the passing the torch moment.
Like a little word in his ear. And I think, do that at Mania. Bray against Taker.
Again.
Yeah, do it. Oh, that's what I want to see now.
They could right the wrong, because obviously last time Taker beat Bray, and people were a bit annoyed by it.
Yeah,
I don't think. I think the only way you'd do it is a cinematic.
Yeah, I was good. Yeah.
I don't think you should do a full-on Taker match.
Though.
Yeah. If you had, because remember the last Undertaker match, that was cinematic, was the one with AJ, and that was really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed
that. And obviously Bray is a master at this kind of stuff as well. So you could have a really cool thing with them too, but I don't think that's the way they're going.
I don't think they'll use him in a match.
I don't think they'll use Taker at Mania, personally.
He's properly retired now, isn't he? So
I don't see it happening, but you never know. maybe he could make an appearance and help Bray in whatever match he's in, or something like that. But
a tag team match, Bray and Taker.
you could do that, something
Against,
like that. Maybe
I don't know who against.
Whatever it is really cool, and it's good
Day?
to see Undertaker really showing his like respect for somebody, and it just shows like, you know, apparently I saw something about the other day about apparently after his match with Bray back in the day, he said to Vince like, look after him because he's special. And then a couple of years later, like Vince has released him, and you just think like, if Undertaker says this guy's special, listen to the Undertaker. Like,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's weird. But yeah, it's funny how Vince's mind works, really. But yeah, this segment was really good as well. And the thing is, this was all in the first. All of these segments we've talked about was in the first hour, commercial-free first hour as well. Crucially,
this first hour was insane.
The first hour of
banging,
Raw
wasn't it?
was the best hour of Raw I've seen in a very, very long time. The rest of the show wasn't quite as good.
Well, should we get skiddy?
Yeah, and I think we might have similar skid marks there. But go ahead, Krusty.
Go on.
So we were anticipating a cage match between Bayley and Becky, which I was quite looking forward to.
Yeah.
I thought they're going to put on a good show. It's a cage match, which is quite cool. And they made a big deal about the fact that the women hadn't had a cage match on Raw.
Exactly.
In how long?
It was something like 20 years ago.
It was a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this gets worse as the night goes on. So they stopped the match basically by having Damage Control just beat up Becky outside the cage, which I thought was cool. But I thought she's going to get up now.
Yeah.
Or someone's going to come down and get rid of them.
I thought someone was going to come down and even the odds, and then the match would take place. That's what I thought was happening. You could have a cool return, a big moment, a legend come out. Can you imagine if you had a legend come out?
Yeah, Lita or something like that come down.
They advertised Lita as a special guest referee not long.
Yeah,
like
you could have even had the Bellas just randomly come down.
Yeah,
it would have been. It would
well,
have
this
been
is the
cool.
thing. I mean, the Bellas got assaulty on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen their videos, but they basically said WWE had nothing for them. Hello, this was perfect. Becky needed 2 backups.
Yeah,
put the Bellas out there. Why not?
Yeah,
and the reason for this apparently was that they'd overshot the initial Bloodline segment, which is fair enough because that was gold. But the fact then the rest of the show,
we had some dross on the show.
Why did they do the Sonya Deville Bianca match? I don't get it.
That was completely pointless. That was
massively
pointless. If you're going to drop a women's match, you drop that one.
Yeah.
Have Belair attack her or something outside, or the other way around.
And then all the other segments as well. Like you could have. I mean, the main event was cut. I felt like the main event. Apparently, this wasn't the only segment to suffer, from what I read. So I reckon the main event was meant to be longer as well because that was short. It felt short.
Do you know what I thought went on for way too long? Was
the DX segment?
Yeah, the DX stuff. I was like, get on with it.
That was some serious salt in the wound there, isn't it?
It was just after as well, directly after.
Yeah,
I was have a match, but we're going to bring all my mates out. Triple H is like, let's just bring all my old mates out. I don't understand why they want to do that because the legends get pops and things like that. But that is a massive insult. And actually, I think stealing a decent match from the crowd, that is a big thing to take away.
A lot of people were annoyed about this online. Support women's wrestling, women wrestling fans, they were annoyed by this.
I think the combination of both of these is my skid mark because I think that DX can do a lot more. And actually, I enjoyed them when it was just them and then Imperium come down, and I thought, yeah, whatever. But
they dragged it out too long.
And then it got stupid, and they kept going into huddles and talking to Kurt Angle behind him. It was like it's just all a bit way too much. Yeah. And it wasn't that funny, and I was like, this is quite like self-indulgent. Just move on. Like we know you're good, DX, but you don't need to have like 15 minutes making jokes to yourselves. And I just thought, especially with the cage match just before not happening, and then this going on for so long, I was like, nah, this isn't on.
We've set up Seth and Street Profits versus Imperium.
Yeah, which is fine.
Great and a brilliant match, but you don't need it.
Yeah, it means absolutely nothing. That match. The match means nothing. And then we got, I know Gunther didn't get pinned. We got Gunther losing in the tag match. I know he didn't get pinned, but I was like, I don't want to see Gunther lose.
Just to sort of go back to the skid mark a minute. I fully agree with you. And just to piggy off the back of it, the fact that, again, like I said, there was no women's match on SmackDown. It hasn't been a good look for WWE in the women's division this week. And Triple H is normally very good at booking the women, but I've noticed the last few weeks there haven't been as many women on the shows. And for SmackDown tonight, the match, there only been one legend in the women's, and that was Alundra Blaze Medusa.
That was so random.
And it was like a 1 second clip,
so random.
Playing poker. There was like, because originally the Bella Twins were advertised for the show. Lita was advertised for the show. Like, get Beth Phoenix out there. Like, she's under contract. She's with Edge. Like, have Edge pop up with Beth Phoenix. Like, why not? You could. There's so many. I know there are legends
for the Rumble. I think.
I know there are legends that. They probably are saving people for the Rumble. I get that, and they don't want to ruin surprises. But at the same time, like, surely a couple of them you can add.
Lita, the Bellas, definitely the Bellas. I don't think they'll be in the Rumble. So
Trish, you could have maybe had. There are others that are under contract with other companies and maybe can't work. I get that, but there's not that many.
It's
and obviously,
isn't it?
Yeah, I just thought what
a waste of a cage. That logistically must cost a fortune.
Yeah,
and
actually,
it was a real skid mark.
I actually heard on a podcast a fan from the show kind of saying that like they were like fuming that they didn't get the cage match because that's people bought tickets based on the cage match. Like people that are big Becky fans, I want to see her in a cage match against Bayley, and then like for the rest of the night they've just got to sit there and the cage is just hanging above the ring the whole night. It's like a reminder of like what they could have had, and it's like that would really annoy you.
And then you get Sonya Belair, which is
pointless.
That segment was
in or out of a cage.
Also, not only is it pointless, it actually ruins the Charlotte Sonya match.
That was what I was going to say as well.
Sonya has no chance. Belair beat her so easily. Like,
she beat him in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're going to have someone else come out, don't have it be Sonya.
Terrible booking.
Have a different heel come out.
My only possible defense for this happening, this whole thing, is if Bayley or Becky have a slight injury that we don't know about. Yeah, which happened last minute.
The case, though.
But otherwise, that is ridiculous.
I reckon they'll still do the match on like another day, but it's not. That's not the point. It was silly, especially considering that other women's match was there. And if you wanted to boot a woman, if you had to boot one of them, you do that one. But they could have cut so many other things out that didn't need to be there.
Just went on for too long. Some of the segments, and I think I've lost my train of thought. Carry on.
But it's only really. I think the only other. I mean, obviously, I get the bloodline stuff being long. That was fine. But I
can almost get the DX stuff as well, though. I mean, they sort of need that, but you don't need SmackDown's champion coming onto Raw and taking out a Raw match. That is ridiculous.
No, they didn't. I think they wanted to get away. I guess they wanted to load it with stars. What they did is I noticed they had every champion on the show. So you had the SmackDown Women's Champion. You had the Intercontinental Champion. So they had all the champions and the biggest stars really from SmackDown on the show. I get that they wanted to do that. I think that was the point of having gone to there. But yeah, they could have cut the segments down. They had a lot of these backstage poker segments. They weren't very long, and they did have the legends in. I get the point of them. They weren't particularly interesting. Obviously, Corbin and JBL were involved in a lot of that. There was Ron Simmons. There was Ted DiBiase, IRS. There were some funny little bits like, when IRS come and took all the money after Corbin had it and all that. And then obviously Ric Flair was there, introduced Charlotte. I honestly think that's why they kept the segment in, to use Rick. Honestly, that's why I think it was kept.
Yeah, probably.
Because they wanted to get Rick on the show. I don't think even if they wanted to get Rick on the show, they could have done the segment and not done the match and then had the cage match. And just
I actually don't think you needed Sonya to come out at all. I think you could have just had Charlotte and Bianca in the ring together.
It's not like I like Sonya Deville, but she's not a big enough star that she has to be on this Raw.
No.
And it didn't really advance much, and it made her look shit anyway.
It actually did the opposite. I think it unadvanced the story a bit. I think it set Sonya back a couple of steps.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I think it hurts Sonya. I don't think Belair or Charlotte gained anything from being on this Raw, and I think it really hurts the Bayley Becky stuff as well. So I just think all of it was a mess. Unfortunately,
I agree. The women's stuff is one giant skid mark. In terms of the DX segment, let's talk about a little bit about that segment itself.
Yeah,
I did like the segment, but they didn't need to drag it out this long.
Yeah,
I thought it was really weird when I saw Kurt Angle come down with them, and they just said DX's names. They were like X-Pac, Triple H, and they didn't mention Kurt. I was like, do you know Kurt Angle just walked out with them to no music, just DX? I was like, this is strange. And I did like the bit where Road Dogg went, the Road Dogg, Jesse James, and then he went to do the badass Billy Gunn, but because it was Kurt Angle, he's like, Kurt, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I liked that bit. That bit was funny.
Yeah, I mean, some of their comedy is all right. It just, some of the stuff where they were going back and forth, and then Triple H was making a joke about creative being hard or whatever, and it was just like, it just felt really self-indulgent. Like Triple H is booking a show, and he's just like, we are getting 10 minutes to make our jokes no matter what happens on the show.
And then,
we
as
will
well,
cut anything else for us.
The bringing people out bit dragged on so much because they were like, let's get somebody out here who can. I'm retired, but you know,
Teddy
Seth
Long.
Rollins isn't, and Seth Rollins does a full entrance with his music. Then it was like, oh, let's get a tag team, Street Profit. They could have all come out together. Like, you didn't need to do all that nonsense. Then Teddy Long comes out, makes the match official. Then they're like, oh, we need a ref. I was like, for God's sake.
Yeah,
when they said, by the way, we need someone to make this official, I was worried Vince was coming out. I was like, please don't do this. Please don't. And then Kurt Angle had the reveal with the referee's shirt was kind of funny, I guess. But yeah, that was it. It just dragged it out way too long, that bit. The match itself was good. Kurt Angle was obviously special guest referee. And one thing I will say, you know, I said about it earlier, where, you know, DX obviously buried the Revival a little bit on the last Raw. What I did like here is none of them wanted to stand up to Gunther.
No.
So Triple H was like, no. And then all of them were like making excuses. At least they didn't make Gunther look stupid. So that I liked. So they used the Legends well in that respect. And the match itself was good. There was a cool double ankle lock from the Street Profits with Kurt Angle as referee. I thought that was smart. It was fun. I like the wrestlers in the ring. And I loved the Seth Gunther face-off, and it made me want to see that again. And Seth Rollins even tweeted saying, yeah, I want to do this. Kind of
Seth Gunther would be insane.
So, yeah, like they gave a good tease there. So there were some positive aspects to this, but it didn't really mean anything.
No,
it was fun. It was a fun match, but yeah, the build to it was so unnecessary.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Well, I think we went through everything in that skid marks.
Yeah, I mean,
apart from the main event.
Kevin Owens stunned the Miz randomly, which, you know, felt very Stone Cold from KO.
Yeah.
With no Stone Cold there, one of like the legends of Raw history not there.
The thing is, I was going to say they could have cut this, but to be honest, this was like 1 minute.
Yeah, and KO's going for the world title.
Yeah, they do need to get. I get the point of having.
I didn't mind.
They needed Rollins on the show as well, really.
And also,
the
Miz was on that video package once or twice. That Raw 31.
The Miz genuinely has a lot of big moments.
Yeah,
on Raw. So yeah,
yeah. But the main event, Krusty, what did you make of what unfolded in the US title match? Lashley Theory.
I almost expected it was going to happen because we've got the Rumble coming.
And Lashley mentioned Brock earlier in the night.
He'd already mentioned it, yeah. To be honest, I quite like the fact that Brock just appears when someone puts their name in his mouth. His name in their mouth. I quite like that. And this is definitely just going to set up a big clash between Brock and Lashley, isn't it? Which is what we want to see.
A stipulation. Third match at Mania.
Yeah, I want to see last man standing or something. Yeah. I want to see some huge, just
because it doesn't need a title.
And I think it makes sense now why they put the Hurt Business, their teasing the Hurt Business coming back together, because like I said last week, you can have them as fodder really for.
Yeah, I reckon you could have Brock v Omos at like Fastlane or something. If Fastlane
or Chamber, whatever.
Yeah, Chamber, and just have Brock. Imagine Brock F5 in Omos. That'd be pretty impressive.
Exactly, and then
that's a great use of Omos. Omos is pointless, so you might as well have him do stuff like this, just to build up to Lashley.
I did wonder, looking at this match, how they're going to get Theory to retain here.
Because you knew something was the minute it was made no DQ, it was quite obvious that something was happening.
Yeah.
And someone was interrupting it. I thought it was either going to be Lesnar or Cena, because there's been a lot of talk of a Cena Theory match.
I think that happened at Mania as well.
I think we're going to get that. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was going to be one of the two. To be honest, I thought it was either Lesnar attacking, Lashley attacking Lesnar, or Cena attacking Theory, and then Lesnar somehow winning. But
and also just quickly with all this, doesn't Brock have history with Shelton?
yes,
And Shelton obviously
they have played on that a little bit before.
One of the guys kind of being excluded or trying to be excluded from the Hurt Business. Maybe Shelton and Cedric like back up Brock. I guess it doesn't need backup. It's a bit probably the wrong word for it, but maybe Shelton or maybe Shelton goes against Brock or something. But I think that's just another interesting little twist in this story. And again, I know we've seen this match a few times, but it still feels quite fresh.
They're spread apart. That's the thing. You're not doing 3 matches in 2 weeks. You're doing them over the course of over a year, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the first one was at the Royal Rumble last year, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, because that was when Lashley won the title off of Lesnar, and then Lesnar entered the Rumble and won.
Yeah.
Because of Roman, right? Wasn't it? So and then he did one in Saudi Arabia or somewhere, the second match, and then the third one here. So they've spread it out, and they're also level on wins. So it makes sense to do a third match. It's a big match for Mania. It also gets them both in a non-title program, which I think is a smart thing to do. Lesnar doesn't need to be in title matches at this point of his career, and Lashley has had it fairly recently and doesn't need it again. So I think it's a perfect use of both men.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of Rumble hype, there wasn't masses, because obviously this was a nostalgia show, and there wasn't masses of like hype of Roman v KO here because they were kind of separate on the show. There wasn't much hype of.
I think the intrigue is what Sami's going to do anyway.
I mean, a bit of I guess a bit of Bray and LA Knight here, but I mean, I don't know about you guys. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more Royal Rumble match hype. We got another video package from Cody, but it feels like only Cody is getting Rumble hype.
Just feels
no one else in the Rumble.
Over.
No one else in the Rumble.
It feels almost too obvious he's going to win because of that.
But like, I want to see people put cases forward about they're going to win it and what they're going to do to Roman, and I don't know, just something. And Cody's the only one doing that, so it feels like he has to win.
The women's one's interesting because hardly anyone's even been announced for it. Hardly any hype for it in that sense. I don't think anyone's really talking about the women's Rumble.
No, it is.
Honestly,
it
feels like no one's really talking about it. It feels a lot more open. The men's one, you feel like it's between 2 or 3 people. I just hope we get some nice surprises in the Rumble. Genuine good surprises. I've got a few people I think could be, but I'm not going to say them because I just think it's better that we don't.
Let's have surprises.
Yeah, like actual surprises,
and
nice there'll still be a surprise to me anyway. But like people that people have speculated who could potentially could be there. But I think the women's one there's going to be a lot of surprises because
every year there is, because
there has to be.
They're clutching at straws to try and get enough women in the match,
and even returns like. There's gone quite a few people who haven't been on TV. I mean, Natalia, Carmella, people like that. Naomi,
we haven't seen Oscar in a while.
Oscar, yeah. Like, there's quite a lot of people that haven't been on TV recently. So, loads of them, you'd imagine, will be coming back in the match as well.
Nobody Tamina.
Exactly.
Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
And they'll probably have, like, the Kellys of this world in there again. They're in everyone. But, no, it should be good. And,
I'm really excited. The Rumble match is exciting no matter what happens. Just counting
unless
down.
They let Brock win right at the last minute.
I mean, that sucked last year, but it won't be that bad this year. Even the people announced, I've seen people saying it as well, and I do agree with it, that the people announced this year is so much stronger than last year. Like last year, I think we had 20, too many people announced anyway. I hate it when they do the whole field.
Yeah.
Half the field is about right. They've got 16 people, I think, announced at the moment. So 14 left. That's perfect. You know, half the people that are going to be in it, they can build up their hype a little bit, but you've still got room for loads of surprise. And you look at who's in it this year compared to last year. Obviously, Cody being a big one. Seth is in it. Lashley's in it.
Gunter
is in it. Theory's in it, who's got a championship. I'm sure there's other names, but like Omos, could potentially be a big person. Strowman as well. Obviously, he wasn't around last year. He wasn't in the company. There's a lot of potential. I think someone like Bronson Reed could be in it. Like
Rey Mysterio's in it, I think.
Rey Mysterio is in it. Yeah. Kofi obviously is in it. So you've got like lots of people who you feel, they've either won a Rumble or could win a Rumble. Like not unthinkable. It was last year. It was filled up with tag teams. Completely filled up with tag teams.
Yeah, I don't want.
And then even the surprises we got last year, we had Shane McMahon, Bad Bunny was cool, and then Brock. That was about it, wasn't it? Was there Carlito? Was that last year or the year before?
Oh yeah, what was that last year?
I don't know. That was pretty good when he did come back. I think
that was the year before.
I did enjoy Carlito.
I've got a feeling that was the year before, but
I wanted him to make a return.
He looked good actually.
But there wasn't anyone. I think the Hurricane might have been in it, but he's always in it.
Oh, the Hurricane's in it every year.
Yeah, I know. It's such a stupid one.
I mean, he works backstage in WWE. So
there's a hurricane coming through.
But yeah, I'd like to see.
I want to hear Regal's music. Here.
Any surprises you'd like to see, just to put it out there, or?
Who would I like to see? I would
like a legend.
I'd like to see Carmelo from NXT.
Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes. I would like to see him. I would like to see Tiffany Stratton in kind of a similar. I think them two are good main roster call-ups that they should do now.
That's a good shout.
I think that's a good one. In terms of legends, I mean, I think unfortunately we've seen most of the legends.
Either the one that we haven't really seen.
Yeah, either in the last few Rumbles or we saw them all on Raw on Monday. So
the big one we haven't seen in a long time, who I think we've all predicted
The Rock
potentially win, is The Rock.
Yeah,
and you can't.
It wouldn't surprise me if Stone Cold is in it. By the way, either.
That'd be cool.
Based on the fact he was active last year.
Not a legend, but I guess more of a celebrity input. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Logan Paul. I don't know how
I think he's injured still, but yeah,
Pat McAfee?
He might be in it. McAfee would be a cool surprise entrant.
Yeah.
Do you know who else would be a cool surprise entrant? Wade Barrett.
Yeah.
Coming off the commentary, that would be cool. There's quite a few they can do that are still cool, and the women's wise, it's always the same old people. Yeah, Edge would be good, but I mean, it's kind of not that big a shock.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix in the women's.
There could be like a huge debut from someone that's like from another company. We might get that, but I'm not going to predict any of that because like I want to be genuinely surprised, like if anything happens. And the women's want to be the same old people. The ones that would be really cool is if we got obviously Sasha back. And one thing I think people have said could happen is
Sasha ain't coming back.
No, but one thing they've said is she won't come back permanently, but you could get Kairi Zayn enter the Rumble, and then because they're having a feud and they're having a match in Japan, you could have them like.
Nah, no chance.
I'm not having that, Fisher. I'm not having that.
No way.
It's not unthinkable.
If that happens, I'm putting you over the top rope.
WWE aren't going to promote a New Japan match in their Rumble. Not happening. I don't care if it's.
They did it with Impact.
They promoted an Impact Women's Champion.
Yeah, but that's because they have about 50 people in the audience.
Yeah, I know.
New Japan's a bit of a different deal, especially when they've got Sasha Banks, which is a bit of a.
I know. I actually don't think Sasha Banks.
Yeah, especially if Sasha left on bad terms.
You're more likely to get Naomi coming.
Yeah, I think Naomi may well be in it. I want Mickey to be in it again, by the way, but who knows?
Is she still Impact champion?
She is it again now. She just won it the other day.
Well, there you go. She could.
It was a career or title match. I thought she was going to lose. To be honest, I thought that was it. I thought she was
still going.
She beat Jordan Grace, and the last
Spoiler
rodeo
if you haven't watched it yet.
And now she's feuding with Bubba Ray Dudley. Apparently, so that should be interesting.
What?
Well, I don't know if she's feuding.
Impact is a strange company.
I just saw a tweet this morning saying he interrupted a promo. I was like, okay. Bubba Ray Dudley. They do both host the same radio show, by the way. That might be something to do with that. But yeah, that's a random tangent.
What a tangent that is.
What a tangent.
Well, yeah, that was a lovely way to end our WWE Raw and SmackDown review.
Bubba Ray Dudley mention. Not have called that. Yeah, that's probably it done for us this week. If you haven't already, get involved with our prediction league. Check us out on Twitter at Recharge Wrestling, where you'll find the tweets. All you've got to do is predict the results of the matches I think there's 5 matches at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Is that right? 5
Obviously,
matches.
the Rumble, you get 2 picks.
Yeah, 2 picks for the Rumble. Pick a winner for the rest. We'll keep scores throughout the year. End of the year, you can win a WWE t-shirt from the store. the winner last year, RM Punk, posted a video on Twitter of him with his T-shirt.
Interestingly, he hasn't
He won
predicted yet. Is he
Has
bottling
he
his
not?
title defense?
Ooh.
That's what I want to know.
I know what
RM
he's
Punk.
doing. He takes it so seriously. He's waiting till Saturday morning
Yeah.
after SmackDown.
He probably is watching.
To be honest,
SmackDown
half the
first.
people that I tagged, because I tagged everyone that took part last year, half the people haven't, quite a lot have, but half the people haven't predicted yet. So I'm expecting people to wait until the last minute.
I thought
Yeah,
I
you
better
got-
get in at the same time as you
We
guys.
do have one new predictor, which is great so far as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and I say the more the merrier.
Anyone's welcome.
Last year we predicted like every pay-per-view. This year it's just WWE main roster pay-per-views, because obviously some people don't watch AEW, some people don't watch NXT, and we don't want to kind of give unfair
it seemed
advantages
last
to
year
some
like
people.
when either of those shows were on, half the people didn't predict, and then they had no chance of winning. So we're just keeping it simple because everyone seemed to predict on the WWE shows.
Yeah, exactly. And just to reiterate, one of us three cannot win a T-shirt.
No, we can win the league, but we won't get any. We'll just
can
get
win the
personal
league.
pride from it.
I think I was close last year to.
Yeah, you
well,
were second, I think.
second to RM
And
Punk.
Krusty was third, I think.
I was third, very
Yeah.
close.
Where were you, Fisher?
I was fourth or fifth. I
Oh,
wasn't that far
okay.
behind.
I thought you
But
were
to be
way
honest,
down.
there were a lot of, apart from Tizzle and a couple of other people, not that many, and obviously RM Punk.
I'm
not that many
excited to
people
see how
predicted
it
every show.
progresses for sure.
So, but
Yeah. But yeah, get involved with that. Check us out on YouTube if you're not watching this already on YouTube. Just search Recharge Wrestling in YouTube. Find us on all podcast platforms. Just again, search Recharge Wrestling. And we'll catch you the same time next week.
Well,
but we may have a Rumble
I was going to
special.
say, we'll
Just
probably,
remembered that.
We'll
Yeah, we'll
probably
probably have
try and do something for the show that size.
a
I
Rumble
hope so.
special. Yeah. So yeah, that will already be coming up either Sunday, Monday, whenever we're all free. We'll check our schedules, but we'll definitely be back next week for the review as normal anyway. But yeah, see you guys. We'll catch you soon.
Goodbye.
Yeah.